Thanks, guys. I think they said that's it about 10 minutes ago, so thank you, guys. Goodbye.
That was Tom Brady, quarterback of the New England Patriots, which will be going to the Super Bowl in a couple Sundays, admitting nothing. He did not cheat, he said. He says he did not alter or deflate footballs in any way. He doesn't know what happened. Let's go right to our panel to talk about what we just heard from perhaps the most recognizable face in today's National Football League. CNN's Rachel Nichols, CNN sports analyst Christine Brennan, former Patriots player Jermaine Wiggins, and ESPN sports business analyst Andrew Brandt. Rachel, let me just get your reaction. Brady denied having anything to do with altering footballs in Sunday's games. This is a guy, though, who has said in the past that he likes his balls a little bit soft, and yet today he says that he can't really tell, or he couldn't at least during the Colts game, whether it was inflated properly or not.
Trying to do it for the last few days.
Frankly, Jake, the most significant revelation in that news conference was that he said that no one from the NFL has contacted him yet about this. Remember, we heard as early as Monday that the NFL was indeed launching an investigation here. Today is Thursday. The game is played on Sunday. I'm not sure who they've been talking to if they haven't spoken to Tom Brady yet. I think that's one of the big questions coming out of this. As for what Tom Brady actually said, his story is that, yes, it is important to him that those balls are at a certain PSI, 12.5, which is the bottom of the legal limit, what's within the rules for the NFL, and that it is, in fact, important enough to him that he goes through the pile of balls before a game and sort of holds them and compares them and decides with all the other factors we've talked about that are legal to do. You're allowed to scuff up your ball. You're allowed to sort of see which laces you like, things like that. But that he says once he gets on the field, that sort of drops out of his mind. And his story is that he wouldn't be able to feel the difference at that point if the PSI on the ball is lower. So as far as he's concerned, he didn't feel any difference between the first half and the second half. People are going to have to decide whether to take him at his word or not. And if the NFL investigation goes forward, again, you'd hope that they would talk to Tom Brady, and they apparently are going to have to talk to the people who had the chain of custody of the footballs after the official checked them 2 hours before the game, but before they got on the field, because Tom Brady said he had nothing to do with it. Something happened to those footballs. They were different when they got on the field from when the officials checked them a couple hours beforehand.
Let's go to Jermaine Wiggins, former New England Patriot himself. What did you make of the press conference, Jermaine?
You know what, I think Tom did a great job, and I employ anybody who asks those questions to see how the ball feels, to think about that when 300-pound men are trying to tear your head off and know, well, wait a second, this ball feels a little bit different. To me, that I understand what Tom's saying. When you're in the heat of the game, you're in the heat of the battle, you're not thinking about how the football feels, how much air is in it, is too much air in it. You're trying to go out there and not get your head knocked off, especially for Tom. He's trying to read defenses, he's trying to figure out where his receivers are, and he's trying to stay upright. So I look at this as Tom saying, you know what, hey, I like them a certain way, and I understand that as a former player, you like the feel, you like the texture, you want to see if it's sticking in your hands a little bit, you want to feel how your grip is. I understand exactly what he's saying. After that, he said clearly, hey, I don't have no control over what happens with the balls after I make the decision on which balls I want, because now I'm focused on the football game. I'm in the locker room trying to go over the last-minute adjustments and go out there and get ready for a game. So I employ anybody to get behind that pocket and get in the quarterback and say, hey, this ball's got a little bit of air in it with 300-pound maniacs coming after you.
I'll say this for Tom Brady, whether or not you believe him, he went out there, he took a bunch of questions for a long time, not easy questions. That's a lot more than we get from our public officials in Washington, D.C. and our state capitals quite often. I want to go to Alina Machado right now, who's inside the room. Alina, Tom Brady is normally a rather soft-spoken guy. How did he seem inside the room there from your view? Did he seem nervous? Did he seem at ease? What did you see?
You know, Jake, it seems to me like he was pretty calm. He did face a grilling, though, as you mentioned. I mean, he did face some very tough questions from a number of reporters out here, and there was a lot of skepticism, right? There were a lot of people here who were really questioning how could he be so familiar with his equipment and yet not know that the balls were underinflated, and yet each and every time he was very consistent. He said he did not know, he did not, you know, he wasn't focusing on the footballs, he was focusing on the game. He also said something that I found very interesting. He said that he had sought out the equipment staff and that he specifically asked them, you know, did you tamper with the balls, and that they told him that they had not done anything to the balls and that he believed them. So I think his demeanor here was one that was very calm. And he seemed to be sincere in the sense that he was trying to answer as many questions as he can. He said that he didn't touch the balls, that he didn't order anybody to touch the balls. We'll have to wait and see what ends up happening. Jake.
Andrew Brandt, what did you make of it? Was this enough to put the whole controversy behind him?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. What we do have is the two leaders of the organization on the football side, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, saying they have no knowledge. But we're left with my colleague Chris Mortensen's report that 11 of the 12 balls were underinflated. So the question becomes, at whose direction? I think we read between the lines a little bit here. He says, which Rachel noted, the league has not contacted him, which surprises me to no end because we just went through the Mueller report. It criticized the NFL for shoddy investigation of the Ray Rice matter. Now we have comments by the NFL that they're interviewing, that they're going through. And, Jake, I've been around NFL investigations. They roll up. They talk to everyone. You figured they've talked to the equipment staff, the coaches, the players, front office, maybe even ownership, and now we hear they haven't. But he did mention his agent. I think they've talked to middlemen. Maybe it's his agent, maybe it's a lawyer, maybe it's the NFLPA about getting to Tom Brady. But there's no subpoena power here. He doesn't have to talk. So we'll see if there's more to this investigation that we don't really know, because the NFL is supposed to get to the bottom of this, and they can't get to the bottom of this without talking to Tom Brady. Maybe there's some negotiations going on about what they're going to ask Tom Brady and when and who could potentially be thrown under the bus. I'm just speculating here.
Christine Brandon, I want to read a quote from former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Troy Aikman. He said, quote, now twice under Bill Belichick and possibly a third time, they've cheated, meaning the Patriots, and given themselves an advantage. To me, the punishment for the Patriots and or Bill Belichick has to be more severe than what the punishment was for the Saints. What do you make of that?
It's a good point, and I think the bottom line with this, almost half-hour-long press conference, which was extraordinarily long, I was very surprised. Instead of a resolution, Jake, there are more questions. This story just rolls on and on and on. And so I think we will get answers eventually. There's no doubt that Tom Brady had spoken with PR people and lawyers. I mean, you just have to surmise that. And so if he's not telling the truth, and the NFL, again, I'm shocked as well that the NFL hasn't talked to him already, but the NFL will speak to him. So if that was not the truth, that 30 minutes was not the truth, then he's in really big trouble, because the answers came over and over again in the Tom Brady way. And if that turned out to be a lie, then, my goodness, who knows what the punishment could be. But right now, we have no resolution. So while I think Troy Aikman brings up great points, as a journalist, I know you would agree, Rachel would as well, we are dealing with the facts as we have them, and right now we are still searching for a lot of answers.
Rachel, Tom Brady was asked point blank, should he or should someone from the Patriots apologize, even if nothing had been done intentionally to skirt the rules of the game? In so many words, Brady said, no, not really. Rachel, do you think that he or anyone from the Patriots owes fans an apology of any sort?
It really depends on what happened, which we still don't know. Look, I don't think that the footballs let the air out of themselves. So we can pretty much rule that out. The question is, was it some sort of equipment malfunction? Was it possibly weather-related? There's been questions raised that maybe the Patriots footballs were at the lowest possible legal limit within the rules. The Colts footballs were maybe in the middle of that span within the rules, and that if the temperature knocked them both down, the Colts would still be in the rules, maybe now to the bottom where the Patriots would be knocked out. Who knows? Maybe that happened, although the temperature was 51 degrees at kickoff. We don't know. We don't know if somebody actually took an air pump and let some air out of the football. So until we know that, it's hard to say whether they owe anyone an apology or some fine money or some suspension time. I would like to know, however, which means I would like the NFL to ask some questions. And while Andrew is exactly right, they don't have subpoena power, and that was a problem in the Ray Rice investigation, the Patriots have come out and said, we are cooperating fully. We have instructed everybody to cooperate fully with the NFL. If they're telling the truth, and they have instructed everyone to do that, and the NFL is telling the truth that they are fully investigating this, I would like some answers, and I would like them to talk to some of the key players.
Andrew, let's remind people that this is beyond a sports story, not just a game. I believe the top 20 most watched broadcasts in American broadcast history or all Super Bowls. Last year's Super Bowl was the most watched television show in the history of the United States. What kind of impact could this scandal have on the game, if any?
Yeah, the if any is the real question, Jake. Business is booming, and that's why with all the credibility issues around Roger Goodell this fall after the release of the videotape in the elevator with Ray Rice on September 8th, business is booming. Owners are 100% behind him. We have record television ratings. We have the Buffalo Bills just sold for $1.4 billion. There's a player-friendly collective bargaining agreement in place through 2020. So all those metrics are booming, and I would expect the game to get tremendous ratings and tremendous interest. But let's look at it this way. We have the biggest event of the year next week. What are we talking about? We're talking about underinflated footballs. That's the issue, and I think what Rachel raises, we've got to get to this. We've got to get to the NFL now, having a press conference, making a statement, getting in front of this before we get to Arizona on Sunday and Monday and talk about the game for a week, hopefully. So we're not talking about this. The NFL has to answer, why haven't they talked to Tom Brady? What's going on with the investigation? We were told this would take 2 or 3 days. We're almost at that point. If not a penalty, which we don't expect before the Super Bowl, are we going to get some kind of statement for the NFL? This is where this stands right here, right now.
All right, Andrew Brandt, thank you so much. That's it for The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. I now turn you over to Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room.